Hi, my name is Carmen, and welcome to Tomes and Textiles. Today our theme is my most anticipated 2026 Latinx releases. I have a ton of arcs and I'm going to go through them because I was actually scheduled right now to be on a podcast talking about this, but they just canceled me and I'm dressed up with nowhere to go, so I am coming here to YouTube to talk to you about my beloved Latinx books. As always, I want to start my book post by thanking my Lectores members at my bindery. You can subscribe to my bindery to get a newsletter of all the latest Latinx releases. I put all my social media posts on there. You can join for free or you can join at a paid level, and both of my paid levels, Lectores, which is $12 a month, or Libritos, which is $5 a month, will have their name read during the video. Lectores, you come first, you're the opening credits, and Libritos, you're the closing credits. So let's get started with my Lectores members. I actually got a new one overnight, which is like so exciting, but I would like to thank Orten, Libri Labra, Lydia Jackson, Princess Peachy, and Val Your Mortgage Gal so much for being my Lectores members. And let's get started with these books because we have a lot of them to go through today. One that I don't have a physical arc, but I did read an e-arc over the holidays is, of course, The Intrigue by Silvia Moreno Garcia. The Intrigue releases on July 14th, 2026, and I absolutely loved it. So this is a historical fiction / noir. It takes place in Mexico in the 1940s. In true Sylvia fashion, it's a multiple point of view story. And in the story, we start out by following Ulysses. Ulysses is sort of this aging con man who uses written correspondence in order to try to find his big bag. Now, Ulysses is this sort of aging con man, like I said, and he knows his looks aren't going to last forever. So he's trying to find the big lottery winning ticket. And he thinks he's found that in Pedla, who runs this small boarding house in Veracruz. But when he gets there, he finds out that Bedla's niece, Inez, is there. And Inez is very sharp-eyed and immediately figures out what Ulysses is all about. And surprising him, she wants in. But Bedla's a lot smarter and less of a spinster in search of saving than Ulysses or Inez really thinks. And so this story definitely gets turned on its head. You hear from all of them and all the points of views, and this story really was so intriguing and it was very much a page turner for me. So I hope you will pre-order it. Oh, and by the way, all the books I'm going to tell you about today are linked down below as well. I'm pretty sure The Intrigue is going to be an August Bien Leídos book club pick. I don't pick out more than like 3 or 4 months in advance, just in case of anything. But get it on your radar, and especially if you're in Bien Leídos book club. Speaking of Bien Leídos book club, we have Now I Surrender by Álvaro Enrique. I talked about this one as a book bingo possibility, and I just wanted to mention that it is our March Bien Leídos book club pick, even though it releases March 3rd. I love Álvaro Enrique. I loved You Dreamed of Empires, and I think he's a phenomenal writer, and this book is so insanely good. We start off with this woman running away from her ranch and into the desert. There is a lieutenant colonel who is trying to figure out what happened to her. Then you fast forward a few decades and US and Mexican military leaders are trying to outmaneuver Geronimo, but he's really succeeding. And then you have current day, the author, who I think is Álvaro Enrique, and everything going on in their life. This story is revolutionary, and it is this spark of joy and hope in a lot of ways, and I hope you will join me in March for Bien Leídos Book Club because this was a great one. Then we're going to go kind of quickly through some of these. I have 3 novels in translation. The first is Pedro the Vast. This is from Simón López Trujillo, and it is translated by Robin Myers. So, in a dry and degraded fire-prone landscape where humanity has encountered a step too far into the natural world, a deadly fungus mounts its own resistance. This one's out this month. Then I got the Charco Press, the literary bundle for 2026, so I get all of their 2026 releases a little early, and so I have the first couple of months ones here. Apparitions, I know by Margot Glantz is translated by Ellen Jones. I know this one releases January 20th. And then we have Sarah Torres's X is Where I Am. This is translated by Maureen Shaughnessy. Charco Press, if you don't know about them, they deal with translated Latin American literature, and they do not only a very fine job of getting all of this translated Latin literature into the world, but also like their aesthetic is unmatched. I love looking at all of my Charco Press books in a row, and maybe I'll do that in my bookshelves. Then I have 4 YA arcs. The first one is a romantasy, a YA romantasy, Carnaval Fantástico by Angela Montoya. I absolutely loved A Cruel Thirst, and I am so excited to read this because it has some comparisons to The Night Circus, and I am all about a Latine carnival, so I am super excited for this. Then we have Estella on Drowning. This is by René Peña Govea. And the reason I'm super excited for this is because it is a mixture of fiction and poetry. And we have one of my favorite Cuban American YA authors, Laura Taylor Namey. This is If We Never End. This is compared to You've Reached Sam and If I Stay. And if I am right, there are special editions of this book that are so absolutely beautiful. Like Bloomsbury is doing a gorgeous job on this book, and I can't wait to read this one. It releases in February. And finally, we have Few Blue Skies by Carolina Ixta. She wrote Shut Up, This Is Serious that I absolutely loved, and this is another YA contemporary. It's a story about love and hope following a teen as she works to protect her family and community from a major corporation taking over her town. I feel like this is extremely timely. Then we have 4 romances. First up, we have The Magic of Untamed Hearts. This is by Raquel Vasquez Gilliland. I have loved the first 2 books of this trilogy that follows the Flores sisters, and this is Sky's story. I'm so excited because I absolutely love Sage and Teal stories, and I'm excited to see the end of the trilogy as well as see Sky get her happily ever after. And this one releases in January. Then we have Joe Segura's Lust Crusade. I have loved the series. It has been so very Raiders of the Lost Ark, very action-packed, and also like very feminist and fun and flirty. This one features a plucky librarian and an archaeologist on the run. It releases January 2026, and I can't wait to read it. And then we have The Experimento by Maria J. Morillo. I told you about this one in my Latinx Book Bingo videos as a 2026 release. This one releases in February. It takes place in Caracas, Venezuela, which is like the background of the story. It isn't like the main point, but this is about a woman who hires her favorite musician in order to try to win back her boyfriend, and you know, things happen like love. And another one releasing in February is Only Friends. This is by Lydia San Andres. And the premise of this sounds so cute. This is about an aspiring screenwriter and a gorgeous model who team up to create Regency-era thirst content for online fans. Anyway, I know Lydia has written a bunch of historical fiction, so I'm super excited to see how this one turns out. And then we go out a little further into the year with the last 2 books I'm going to tell you about. The first one is Ada Ferrer's Keeper of My Kin. It's a memoir of an immigrant daughter. Ada is a Cuban-American historian, and this is her memoir of her life. Because Cuba and American history has been on my TBR for far too long, and so I'm thinking about reading both of them by the time this one comes out. This one releases May 19th, so you have plenty of time to get this one on your TBR. And finally, coming out in July is Natasha Diaz's What Lies Beneath the Flowers. I absolutely loved her YA debut, Color Me In, and that was out years ago. So this is her second novel, even though she's written a bunch of books in between. And this book asks the question, how far would you go to make sure your darkest secrets stay buried? This YA thriller releases July 14th on Delacorte, and I cannot wait to dig in. And I want to thank Natasha for getting this into my hands so early. So that rounds out my quick and dirty look at some of my most anticipated 2026 Latine releases. And so I want to thank you all for going through this challenge with me. I know this video is going to be a huge challenge to edit. even though it's going to be relatively short to YouTube standard. So I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. I have all the books linked down below, as well as my bindery if you want to join and support me there. Speaking of bindery, I want to send us out by thanking all of my Libritos members: Alma, Angel Soul, Angie, and Eliza, Christina Vurcos, Between Naps and Novels, Book Nerd, Buzz, Erica, Celeste, Contras y Cuentos, Corazon, Denise, EBS, Grace Santa Maria, Hialeah, Hey Larita, I Am Bumble, J454, Jackals, Jenny, Just Joe, Katie, Kelly MC, Kingrid, KMC84, La Marie Reads, Libros Means Books, Lisette86, No Life But Books, OMG, Nancita, PM Marshall, R. Van Stratton, Sandra Espinoza Lopez, Sarah Bookish Macaroons, Sawyer Cole, Sharda, Sol Del Mar, Sonia Zavala, Stephanite, Susie Stefan, Tamara Thoner, Thoran Reads, Twisted Apples, Vanessa Lilac, Vicky, Glorious, Mima Rivas, Stephanie Nina. Thank you all so much, and I will see you tomorrow on my January challenge.